Hello everybody, and welcome to another Wildstar video. This is actually my second attempt at this video. The first time I did it, I rendered it out, I uploaded it, and I was ready to release it, but I decided to wait a while because I wanted to mull it over. The reason why is because I ranted, and I got really direct with some very specific comments that I've been getting on Wildstar videos, and we're still going to address those in this video. I'm just going to do it in a less mean way, right? So I'm glad I didn't put out that video because I probably would have regretted it because it was very mean. And I'm still going to address the concerns, and those concerns are specifically on, from comments that I've gotten on Wildstar videos. And it's really misconceptions that I'm addressing more than anything. And the second thing I wanted to do is show you a little bit of my housing plot, which is totally freaking epic. So let's, what do we want to do first? I'll show you my treehouse later. Let's talk about concerns first. Firstly, though, I got the sickest sword. Like, look at that thing. It's awesome. Love it. It is so cool. So first concern actually relates. A bit of a segue here. And I get a lot of comments on Wildstar videos saying I either tried the game, or actually most of them are I'm not interested in this game because blank. And the blank is 99% of the time is it's too cartoony. And that is a shame, because I would say that is one of the dumbest comments, and this is going easy. Remember, that's my second take. Imagine what the other one sounded like. That's one of the dumbest comments I think I've ever heard. Honestly, that would be like me saying Transistor just came out, but I don't want to play it because it's too beautiful. I don't like the art style on it. Yeah, but objectively speaking, Transistor is a beautiful game and one of the most beautiful games to come out, regardless if you like the art style of that game or not. Same thing goes with Bastion or even Limbo. Limbo has a very intentional black and white grayscale style to it because that's what they designed the game with. They designed systems in the game with that in mind. So I would say Wildstar is very similar. Their art style that they've chosen to go with is intentional. Now let's get rid of some massive misconceptions here. The first being that because it looks cartoony, it equals kids game. That is not even close to the truth. There are places in the game where you'll be walking around and you'll realize, wow, this is actually a very adult game. For instance, on I think it's the Exiles Arc ship, the place you start out at, there's a locker, and if you look inside the locker, there's a nude shot of a Draken female, and there's multiples of those, like spread shots of Draken females in the game, and it's a little joke that they have going that, the Draken female is a very lusty, seductress type of race of people, and all of the races are interested in them. And it's not like super racy, it's a nude model, but it's not, they're not showing anything of it. They've got like fur type stuff, and it's also very pixelated, but they have that in the game, and it's little things like that you realize this is far from being a kid's game, very far. And that's a shame that people automatically dismiss the game because of its art style. Yes, it uses a hand-drawn style. It's very stylized. Like, all of the stuff I've got going on, especially my awesome sword, is stylized. It's got a very specific style to it. People compare it to WoW's style, and that is accurate. It is close to WoW's style. They use the same technique, which is they have 3D meshes with 2D textures on them. For instance, this sword is a 2D texture, but it's a 3D mesh. You can see that it's got depth to it. It has texture, it has different pieces, like even these pieces move around. It's got pieces to it that are moving parts, and it is a 3D, object. However, they take a 2D texture and they place it over it to make it look good. And this texture right here, as you see the sword, it's got a little bit of parallax to it. It's got a little bit of a bump, but for the most part, what makes it look like it's got that metal piece on it is that well-drawn, texture. It's purposefully done that way. And we can look at other things in the game like that, like these engines on this spaceship that I have. Everything looks really well done, but it's all just a hand-drawn texture. It's a style. It's a really cool style, and people have been accepting it in WoW for years. You've probably played WoW at one point, And I'm sorry if you believe that it's too cartoony, but it's bullcrap that that's the reason you won't play it, because you probably have played WoW for years, period. The other thing is you should be congratulating a game that has the balls to come out in a time where there are so many grim, dark, realistic, dark, gritty, darkness, gray scale, brown color palette games like Call of Duty and Battlefield 4. And, you know, it's a market that's saturated with that style, and it's kind of depressing. It's not a style that suits a lot of things. Yeah, kind of war style. Yeah, I could see why it could kind of work with Battlefield 4 and stuff, but the world isn't painted that way. That's not a realistic look. Our world, go look outside. It is a beautiful, gorgeous, colorful world that we live in, so none of that is realistic. So I'm sorry if you think that Call of Duty is a realistic looking game or Battlefield 4 is a realistic looking game. It's not. It's far from it. You know, just look at any picture from, you know, China is a good example. There's these amazing mountains in China. I don't remember the name of them. I apologize. But they're the ones that they used in the Avatar movie, you know, where like the giant like floating islands. There's actual cliffs that look like that in our planet. It's amazing. It's beautiful. So, you know, your Call of Duty, your Battlefield 4, your whatever game that you think is nitty gritty and realistic is not nitty gritty and realistic. It's dark and it's stylized. That is a style that they've chosen. It's not a realistic style. It's just a dark style that they've chosen to set the mood for the game. Likewise, Wildstar has the same thing. It's bright, it's vibrant, and it's I would call it obtuse. I think is a good word for it, because look at this sword. This sword is not at all functional. You know, you wouldn't see this sword in the real world. It's hilarious because it's, you know, got craziness to it, but you would never see it in the real world. So, you know, say in Battlefield 4, you had a spaceship come down. Your spaceship would have to be a believable spaceship because they're portraying, you know, realistic items in that world. You know, you have real guns and vehicles that you see in the real world. Whereas in a game like this, you can have a spaceship that does not function properly at all, but looks like that, you know, like that's a spaceship. That wouldn't fly. I'm sorry. That is not a functional spaceship, but you can do cool artsy things with it because you've gone with a specific style. So that's the first thing. The game has a very specific style. I like it. And this is right here is a good example of the color. You know, you gotta applaud a game in this day and age that comes out with lots of color and intentional color as well. It's not just thrown in there to make the game bright. Second thing is that the style actually lends itself well to the game engine, because the game engine loads quickly. You'll take 2 to 3 seconds on a load screen, which any of you who've played Star Wars just probably wet your pants. Literally 2 to 3 seconds on a load screen. It's amazing. Crashing out of the game, it takes me 10 seconds to get back into the game. That's how quick it is. That is important if you're a hardcore raider, and they did this on purpose. You know, they are catering to the hardcore player. We'll get to that in a second. It's important because if you crash out of a raid, it's important for you to get back as soon as possible. And if it only takes you 10 seconds to get back in, awesome. You know, right? That's a very, very, very good thing that they've done, and I applaud them for that. And the art style is part of that. That lends itself well to it. The last thing with the art style is because it is done in the style it is, they can put a lot of detail in scenes. Now, I think this is really cool. However, it is a huge criticism with the game. And you'll notice it the first time you ever see Wildstar, the first time you ever get into the game and play it for yourself. The best way to put it is that the game demands your attention with everything. And it's very overwhelming the first time you get into the game. There's tons of UI elements when you first get in. You know, obviously I have modded stuff, so these are even different. But when you first get in the game, there's like tutorial messages that are constantly popping up. There are, you know, crazy props in the scenes. There's the quests and the quest givers telling you to go places. There's colors everywhere. There's mobs. There's nameplates. There's UI elements popping up all over the place. It's a lot to take in, and it's very overwhelming. And a lot of people get turned off by the game within the first few moments because of that. But you need to learn how to express yourself. Don't say, I don't like this game because of the art style. Just say, I don't like this game because I was overwhelmed. You know, it's not embarrassing to say that, because that's what the game does to you. It does overwhelm you. And after a few hours of playing, unfortunately, you know, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but after a few hours of playing, you do adjust your eyes and you learn to focus. You learn to look at what you need to be looking at any given time. That's why I've gone with such a simple interface. You know, I have my abilities here. I have a sprint bar on the right side of my character and a dash bar on the left. That's it. The last thing that I have in the middle of my screen is my resource bar, which you'll see when I start attacking these trees, which I should harvest anyways. So that red bar that goes across the bottom there, that's my resource bar. So it's all in the middle of my screen because I want my attention to be focused there. There's a lot of telegraphs to be dodging out of with the high level 50 stuff. And honestly, I just find that I am focused a lot more when I have this interface up. And it's an intentional change that I've made to learn how to focus my own eyes, right? So with that aside, I think it's pretty crappy for you to say, I don't like this game because of the art style. I think that's not a valid criticism. It's a valid criticism to say I don't like the art style, but to say that it's a bad game because of it is stupid, period. It's stupid with any game. You can't say that with Battlefield. You can't say that with, you know, Dishonored, which has a very cool style to it. If you don't like the style of that game, it doesn't make it a bad game. It just means that you don't like the style of it. Learn to communicate. Learn to express your opinion in a way that is, you know, I guess communicative. I can't even say that word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Communicative. I can't say it because it's like, I can't say sentiment. I can't say, you know what I'm trying to say. I can't say that word either. Part of my dyslexia. Either way, it's kind of ironic that I couldn't say that word because I'm trying to communicate to you guys. But learn to communicate your opinion well, and when you express it thoughtfully. Don't express it like, this game is so stupid because of the art style. Ew. You know, it's like, come on now. That's not a valid criticism. The unfortunate thing is the other part to this is a lot of people dismiss the game because of the art style, like I said earlier, because they think it's a child's game. Fact of the matter is, this is one of the most hardcore games to release in the past few years. It is one of the hardest games I've played ever, period, ever, with the only exception in the MMO space of being EVE Online. EVE Online has a learning curve of Mount Everest, you know. It's massive. You can't learn that game in a few days just by sitting down and playing it. You learn it over the course of like a year by playing with a ton of other people. Yeah, and there's spreadsheets everywhere. It's the best spreadsheet simulator in the world. And EVE is a hard game because of that. This is a hard game because it challenges you. And where Wildstar does really well is the fact that it's fair challenge. None of the telegraphs are super unfair. If you die in this game, you know why you died because you can clearly see what hit you and what killed you and what did the damage, right? I'm pretty sure that makes the most sense to all of you. I don't think I have to explain that any. But what I say that the game does is the game will kick you on your butt. It will kick you in the face, across the face, in the groin, and knock you on your butt. And then it'll take a giant sword and start swinging at you. But when it realizes that you understand why you died, it will stop, it will reach out a hand, and it encourages you to get back up, to get better at the game, and to try again. That's the good thing about Wildstar. It may be difficult, but it is fair, and it does a very good job of teaching you. And I like that. I like that a lot. It means that we're going to have a lot better players at the end game, especially because you have to be pretty hardcore to get to the end game to begin with. It's a very long process. I mean, I played for, 15 hours a day for 4 days straight to get to, or 3 days straight to get to 50. It's a lot of work, and I was no-lifing the game, and I am a very fast leveler. To give you context, it takes me about 2 days total of just sitting down to get to level 55 in Star Wars. Just literally, I can sit down for 2 days and get to 55 without losing any sleep. If I really wanted to, I bet I could beat that, you know. Star Wars is a very easy game to level in. This is a lot more difficult because the levels take forever. So in order to get to 50, you have to go through kind of trials and tribulations, and in order to get into raiding, you have to go through an attunement process that is crazy but fair and fun, and it's going to weed out a lot of the bad players. And the people who do have the time and the effort to put into the game, or even don't have the time but progressively do it over time, will get a lot out of the game because they'll feel like they're succeeding in something, right? Okay, so with that aside, let's move on. Actually, last thing, if you don't understand that this game is a hardcore game and you treat it as a childish game because of the art style, I'm calling you out that you actually are just scared of a game that's going to beat the crap out of you. Period. It's okay. If you know, not everybody plays Dark Souls. You don't have to play Wildstar. I don't care if you play Wildstar. I don't care if you're into Wildstar. This game is already successful without you. It doesn't need your help anymore. I mean, it would be nice if you played it and if you enjoyed it, but they're not going to force you to play it because they want to be successful. They already are successful at this point, which is good. last thing that I wanted to talk about as far as comments that I keep getting is people just don't understand the game. People don't understand it. They look at it and they get confused with the art style. They get confused because there's so much going on screen and they just don't get it. And this is fine. It's fine if you're that person, because we have plenty of people on the channel that are like that and that have commented saying, I can't wait for guides because this game confuses the hell out of me. I totally understand. This game is very deep. Best example, let's look at the abilities here. Let's look at my tank build. Now, you have a set of abilities you can have. You can have only 8 abilities on your bar at a time, right? But as you level up, you get ability points. So I can select any of these 8 abilities. Like I can get rid of my leap, and I can, which is like a charge, and I can put on defense grid, which is like a giant AoE defensive ability, right? So I could swap those out. But let's say, let's look at this. So you have ability points that you can put into an ability. As you see on this one, I've maxed out Jolt. And as you go up, this costs 1 ability point, 1. That all upgrades the damage, and then you get to the first tier upgrade. And the first tier upgrade reduces the technology resistance of whatever I hit it by 12.7% for 10 seconds, right? Sounds mediocre. And then you go through, you get that one, you get that one, and then you get to the last one in the tier 8 upgrade. Landing a foe exposed, or landing a hit on a foe exposed by Jolt grants a 25% chance to reduce the cooldown of Stance Juggernaut. Now, my Stance Juggernaut is my tank innate ability. So it's a cooldown. It gives me reduced damage and increased threat generation. So if I can reduce that by 7 seconds, a ton, that's really good for me because that's reducing a cooldown on an incredibly good ability, right? So you have little things like that. I may use that in a single target tank fight where I really need heavy cooldowns, but if I'm having to AoE tank a lot, I might go with Polarity Field, which is like an AoE attack, and I may completely switch around how my points are set. And that's just the ability system. You have all these abilities to choose from, and you have the ability points to put in, and this system is so deep. It's actually more deep than any skill system that I've played in a very long time, and it confuses people because there's too much there. It's overwhelming. The second thing is the amps, which is just like your talent tree and other things, except it's as you go up to tier 2, so like this is tier 1 stuff, this is tier 2, and then tier 3, they go up exponentially in price. So 1 cost 4 for these, and these cost 6. Well, the middle one costs 2, but these cost 6, and you have to plan out your amp points, and you can unlock amp points as you go along, right? So you can unlock even more amp points. There's a maximum that you can get, but you can unlock them at the end game using items. So, there's a lot of depth there, and the game is catered to the hardcore person, and because of that, people are confused by it, and I totally understand it. Don't be discouraged by the game. It's going to take a little bit to learn. It does have a bit of a learning curve. It's brick wall at first. Once you learn it, though, it is very rewarding. It's like what I say with my drum students. I teach drum lessons to little kids. Achievement for the guild. I teach drum lessons to kids, and some of these kids come in and they just want to start off with a drum fill. They just want to do a crazy drum solo for like 2 minutes long, but they haven't learned the basics to be able to do that yet. But when I teach them, and over the course of, depending on how quickly they learn, maybe a few months, maybe a couple of years, they get to the point where they can do that. You see that they feel rewarded by it. They put in the hard work and they are rewarded by the experience afterwards. This game is just like that. If you put in the hard work to begin with, you're going to be rewarded by the amazing content that they've put in at the end game for both the hardcore and the casual player, right? The game is catered to hardcore players with the raids, 20 and the 40 man raids, and that is daunting for some people. And, it's okay to be overwhelmed by it. That's why I have guides coming out. I'm currently working on a few to teach you the game, to teach you the dungeons and stuff, because it's overwhelming and it's a difficult game, and it can be a little unforgiving, and it's almost like StarCraft ladder anxiety, when you get into a game like this and you go to do a dungeon with other people, you don't want to fail them. And you don't want to look like an idiot, so you just don't want to do that dungeon, right? Well, I'm going to teach you how to not look like an idiot and how to enjoy the process. So now that that's out of the way, those are the 2 major concerns that I get on all the Wildstar videos that I wanted to address. I have guides coming out to help you guys who want to get into the game but feel like it's a little overwhelming. Don't worry, I'm there for you. I want to teach you. It's one of my skills that I have. I know I'm a good teacher. I'm gonna teach you guys how to play this game. Second thing is, if you're dismissing the game because of the art style, I'm going to quote myself from the other video, but not go any further than that. I think you're an idiot. I think that's a stupid comment, and you wouldn't say that about any other game, so why would you say it about this? Period. You know, period. End of discussion. Don't be dumb. Figure it out. Let's talk about my housing plot real quick, right? So I have this house that you get from the pre-order bonus, and I've put all these props down. Like this, if I go into edit mode, this is a prop that I've put down. This is a prop that I've put down. Even this flag up there is a prop that I put down. But let's go into my little spaceship. I put all this stuff down. I'm turning this into like an office. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've got like a holographic fire pit. Got like a little thing that I could sit down on and greet people. Not that I will, but most of these props actually end up giving me additional rest XP for just being in my house. Got a little camera, little eye camera, little trophy thing. There's just a lot going on in here, right? That picture's totally upside down. I gotta fix that later. So normally you would place your house stuff in there, but I'm not going to. I'm getting more creative, and I'm going to enter this into a contest. I'm not done with it yet, but my plan is to enter it into a contest, which is this tree house. So I have this massive tree. Let's back up a bit here and look at it. It's a huge tree, and I've plotted out kind of the floor plan for it. So I made these stairs. By the way, this railing is totally hand-placed 2x4s. Like, look at that. These are all hand-placed and hand-scaled and put lovingly into place. All of these are lovingly put into place. You know, there's a lot of customization you can do here. The staircase itself is a single piece, though. But I've put a lot of work into the stairs to make them look believable. I still have a little bit more to go on that, but then I've drawn out the floor plan for this. So you have like one room over here that I've put walls into. I haven't finished it. I haven't put a door on, but I'm getting there. I plan on filling up the room. It's connected to the tree. It feels like it's part of the tree house. This one's going to be even better with that because it's got like this branch that comes out. I'm going to put mannequins down, which hold your old gear. So that'll be really cool. I have like a trophy room. I've got like this little viewing room where I can look out over the rest of my plot. It's going to be really fun. And when I have this thing done and all propped out and looking like an actual piece of the world, I think it'll be really cool. And I think it could win the competition that is currently going on. The last thing that I have that I wanted to show you is this Zen pond. I had to do it. I had to have a Zen pond. It just made sense. It's perfect. But I figured I'd show you guys kind of what my house looked like at the moment and how it's progressing. And I'm going to give you kind of constant updates on this as I continue getting more gear and getting attuned for raids and stuff and showing you the rest of this. But I did want to address those concerns that I keep seeing on YouTube videos. And I wanted to redo it in a way that didn't sound super douchey and mean and me yelling at people, which is what it was before. So glad I didn't put that video out. So with that being said, I'm gonna call it out there, and we'll see you guys next time.